And if you're within 100 feet, you will at least be severely burned from the sheer heat of the exhaust fumes. And you would probably die.
You're listening to Focus on the Bible, a production of Focus Evangelistic Ministries, Incorporated.
Welcome to Focus on the Bible. I'm Josiah Coyle, and 1 year ago this week, my dad, Freddie Coyle, passed away from brain cancer. And I wanted to share a little bit in this episode about something that changed for me when Dad passed away. And I think that some people out there are going to be able to really relate with this. For some people, it might be a new idea. I never really thought much about heaven. When I was growing up, heaven was a place that I was glad to be going by the grace of God, but there's not much description in the Bible of what heaven is going to be like, at least for a place that we're going to spend eternity in. And it was hard for me to imagine what it was like, because it's like everything that I've ever been excited about before has eventually worn off. Either the thing itself has worn out or my excitement for the thing has worn out, because I get used to it and then I kind of take it for granted. And it was hard for me to imagine being somewhere for forever and it not getting old to me. So when I would picture heaven for most of my life, honestly, I would picture the coloring pictures from Sunday school. You know, where the picture is black and white, it's kind of cartoony, and you color it, you know, and it's those pictures where everybody needs the yellow crayon. You know, you're just sitting there most of the time waiting for the yellow crayon to get past you, because like the streets are gold, the walls must be gold, like everything is just gold in heaven, which sounds cool again, but I mean, how long before that wears out? And I also knew as I got older that heaven is a really cool place because God is there, and it's just going to be awesome to be in God's presence. But again, it doesn't compare with anything that we have here on earth. In addition to this, I still, for most of my life, I thought I've got more things to do on earth. Not necessarily wrong things either. That could be the case for some people, unfortunately. But for me, it was like, I still want to get married. I still want to have a family one day. There's all sorts of things that, like, in heaven, once we get there, if I look around and I'm in heaven, then the time for that is over. It's done. And there's just stuff that I want to do. There's also stuff that I want to do for the Lord while I'm on earth, because my time here is limited. Once I get to heaven, like, that's it. Everything that I've done on earth the book is closed on that chapter. And so I never really thought much about heaven. I was glad to be going there. I'm glad the assurance that we have. The Bible talks over and over and over again about the hope that we have as an anchor for the soul, both sure and steadfast. The Bible doesn't talk about hope like a kite. Oh, I see it. Oh, now it's over there. Now it's over here. That's not the kind of assurance that the Bible talks about, because that's not assurance and that's not security. That's why I care so much about talking about the security that we have in Christ. When we have our faith in Him, God is faithful to His word, period. But even though I had that assurance, I was glad to have that assurance, I just didn't really think like, I'm ready to go to heaven right now. I'm ready for God to call me home, until Dad died. And overnight, heaven went from something that I thought about every now and then to a daily thought that I have. I think about heaven every day. I think about how awesome heaven is going to be. And I think about how excited I am to see Dad and so many other people who have gone on to be with the Lord. And maybe if you've lost someone close to you, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, then maybe you're more in my shoes how I used to be. Not really thinking about how awesome it's going to be, not able to comprehend how awesome it's going to be. But when Dad died, my thought was, Dad is there, and he is better there than he was here. Here, he was suffering. He was in pain. He was fighting for his life. There, he's made whole again. Not just as good as he was before he got brain cancer. Better than he was. Better than he ever has been on earth. That's crazy. That's a mind-blowing thought. And that just changed my perspective. If that's how my dad is doing right now because he's in heaven, I can't wait to be there with him and to know him in a way that, like, I've never seen my dad so full of life as he's going to be when I see him in heaven. And so many other people, but for me, it was losing my dad that did that. When we look in the Bible at Romans chapter 8, we have some interesting descriptions. Verse 18, it says, "For I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us." I think the word choice is intentional here. It's not the glory revealed around us or to us, although that's true as well, but there's going to be glory that is revealed in us when we stand before God. We're going to receive our glorified bodies in heaven. And like my dad is right now, more alive, more better than he's ever been before, that's how we're going to be. There is glory that God is going to reveal in us when we're in heaven. Glory for him. Glory for how he made us and how he intends for us to be when we're no longer shackled by this temporary world that we're in right now, chained to our physical bodies. But you are not your body, my friend. You have an immortal soul that will go on forever after this world has worn out. Thinking about heaven, I think that's a thought that we should all have, and that the Bible, we can see it encourages, we can look forward to this. Verse 19 says, "For the earnest expectation of the creature waiteth for the manifestation of the sons of God. For the creature," that's us, "was made subject to vanity, not willingly, but by reason of him who hath subjected the same in hope. Because the creature," that's us again, "itself shall also be delivered from the bondage of corruption into the glorious liberty of the children of God." This chapter meant a whole lot to my dad, and now it means a whole lot to me thinking about it. I have a theory about heaven's timeline, which we talked about in a recent episode, and that is that heaven's timeline is disconnected from Earth's, because if God is everywhere and every when, and heaven is God's dwelling place, then perhaps heaven also has its own timeline. And if you missed our episode where we talked about it, I'll sum it up for you. Maybe when we're in heaven, we can look down at Earth and not just see Earth right now at this point in time, but see Earth all laid out, everything that's ever happened, as much as we're allowed to see, all happening at once on this big, alive timeline below us. Now, here's the thing. There's some scriptures that kind of throw doubt on my theory. I like my theory, but I'm not attached to it. It's just a cool thing to think about. But there are timelines in the Bible talking about heaven. And one huge thing that might completely shatter my theory is that our end goal is not to go to heaven. That's not where this is all headed. Now, that might be a shock to some people, but the end of the story is not us ending up in heaven, but us with God bringing heaven back down to earth in God's final kingdom. And regardless of what heaven is like, because that alone makes it seem like, well, then there's a chronology, there's an order of things, even in heaven as well. So maybe that theory is completely wrong. But at the end of the day, I can't really fathom what heaven is like, as hard as I try. I like to. It's a comforting thought to me, and I'm excited about it. But I don't have to know all of what heaven is going to be like. I just like to think about it. Let me give you an example of this. When a rocket takes off, NASA's safe distance for being away from a rocket, I think, is 3 miles. It might be 1 mile. But either way, it's measured in miles, not feet, not inches. The plume from a rocket engine's exhaust can melt steel. Think about that, okay? Now I'm going somewhere with this example. If you're within 30 feet of the rocket, when it ignites, the heat would incinerate you immediately. And if you're within 100 feet, you will at least be severely burned from the sheer heat of the exhaust fumes, and you would probably die. But even if you were fireproof, the sound of the rocket igniting would instantly shatter your eardrums, rupture your skin tissue, and likely cause internal bleeding, and you would die. But even if you could withstand the sound pressure itself, the vibrations from the rocket igniting, listen to this, would physically shake your internal organs until they didn't work anymore, and you would die. But all the magnificence and sheer force of power from an ignited rocket ship, I think one of the most impressive things that humanity has ever built, one of the pinnacles of our technological ability and know-how, not just technological, but theoretical and practical. A rocket, all that sheer magnificence is like a party popper compared to the awesomeness of God. And if heaven is where he dwells, and God is going to make a new heaven and a new earth, there's just no way that we could possibly comprehend that in our physical bodies, in our earthly brains. And I'm glad for that. I'm glad that I can't fathom exactly what heaven is going to be like. I'm excited for it. And I hope that you're excited for it as well, whether or not you've lost someone close to you who's forced heaven to be on your mind, if I could put it that way. Because heaven is going to be amazing. We're going to be there with God. We're going to be there with the whole family of God. I don't know about you, but I can't wait for that. Toby Mac wrote a song recently called Heaven on My Mind. I really like the song. I think he killed it with this song. And it has this line, it says, life ain't bad down here, but I've got heaven on my mind. And I hope you do too. And by the way, if you aren't absolutely certain that you're going to heaven whenever you die, then heaven's a good thing for you to think about as well, just for an entirely different reason. So I want to take a minute really quickly and express to you how you can know that you have everlasting life based on what Jesus Christ said. In John 5:24, Jesus says, Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that heareth my word and believeth on him that sent me hath everlasting life, and shall not come into condemnation, but is passed from death unto life. This is the reason for the hope that we have. Jesus says that when we believe in him, that we are passed from death unto life. Not that we will be, not that we hope that we will be, not that we might be, but that we are passed from death unto life. If you've never trusted Jesus Christ for everlasting life, do that right now. What that means is you come to terms with the fact that there's nothing that you could ever do to earn God's favor. Romans 3:23 says, For all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. In sinning, that means that we have just missed the mark, and not by a little bit, just completely have missed the mark. But Jesus hit the mark, and he paid the death penalty in our place so that by faith in him, we can have the assurance of everlasting life. If you've never done that before, you should do it right now. Don't waste any time. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Focus on the Bible. Now, you might be wondering, why would we devote a whole episode to talking about heaven? It's not even really that informational. And the reason is we need encouragement as well, not just knowledge. And I think that Romans 8 shows us one of the most encouraging things that we can do is remind ourselves and each other about the hope that we have from God through Jesus Christ. If you'd like to learn more about our ministry, you can visit femionline.com. That's femionline.com. Until next time, don't forget to focus on the Bible.